Hey guys, this is Cam, Oregon Knife Guy, and today we're going to talk about the traditional pattern, the Whittler. I'm going to show off a couple of mine and just talk about the pattern a bit, what makes a Whittler, maybe discuss some traditional blade shapes. So majority of my Whittler collection is Rough Riders or marbles, and so I'm going to start with the cheaper ones and move on up. So the first one is the Rough Rider, and this is kind of a copy of the Seahorse Whittler made by Case, or I think Case has one that's closer to this pattern. It was in their Case Classic series that was made by Queen, but this has a Wharncliffe main blade and two pin blades. And so what makes a Whittler is, for one, you have a larger blade, and it nests between your secondary and tertiary blades. And then you have a wedge as a center, and it gets fatter on one end and skinnier on this end. Then your main blade runs on both springs, and your two secondaries, your secondary and tertiary blades, have their own spring. So not all Whittlers have the split back, but a lot of them do. And so here's my first one. There's the Rough Rider. So this Rough Rider came out with this last year, I think, and this is in their Coral Snake series. This is the same frame, but it has a clip point main. Same two pin blades. All in all, a well-made knife, except for the big stupid R on the bolster. Okay, now... Okay, we might as well get this one over with. This is the weakest of all my Whittlers, and this is a Rough Rider. It is... I don't know, if somebody just gave someone the description of a Whittler, this one has a clip blade down there and a pin and then a clip, but as you can see, the clip is small, and all around this knife is clunky. It's fat. It does have a split back, but it's fat, and there's all kinds of space in between everything. It's just a piss poor knife, in my opinion. Some people might love this, and to each their own. More power to you. I happen to think that one is a pile of dog shit. Okay, so next, this one, and I believe you can still get this one. This is one of their smaller Whittler patterns, and this has a drop point or a spear point blade, whichever you want to call it. It's got a pin blade and a coping blade. And this one doesn't have the split back, but this is a very nice knife. It's made very well. This is another Rough Rider. As you can see, it's older. It doesn't have the big R on it. It's a large knife. It's almost 4 inches closed. And this one has sheep's foot blade, spay blade, and a clip blade. And this one's all right. I don't carry this knife ever because it's kind of big for a traditional knife. I like my traditional knives a little bit smaller. But if I did carry it, I'm sure it would serve me fantastically. Okay, one more Rough Rider, and this is also an older one. This is what they call a Congress Whittler, or a Congress Whittler. I almost said Knittler, which is a canoe Whittler, and I do not own any. So this has two pin blades, and the main blade is a sheep's foot. This one also does not have a split back spring, but this knife is nice and tight. You can see how small the springs are, how tight everything would have to just fit in that little blade well. It's a nice knife. So another brand that Smoky Mountain Knife Works owns is marbles. Well, I don't know if they own it or if they're just manufacturing for them. I'm not really sure. But this is a knife manufactured by Marbles. And it is a very large Whittler. It's like 4.5 inches closed, I think. And this one has a main clip, a spay blade, and a pin blade. And this one does have the split back. As you can see how long that brass wedge is. It's a really nice knife. And this is pearl that they cut like that. I also have a Congress in this handle material that's lovely. I tried to get the Barlow, but by the time I got to the Barlow, they were sold out. So I have one more Marbles knife, and this is also a Congress Whittler. This is the full-size Congress, or medium Congress, 3.5 inches. And this is a really nice knife. Got a nice spear point blade. Pen blade is a secondary, and a coping blade. It's a great knife. They call this their black stag bone. So it's bone carved to look like stag. They did a really good job with it. Let's get some of these out of the way. Alright, next up, let's go with this because I only have one of them. So this knife is made by Schrade. It's an older knife and it's kind of fat and a little clunky also, but it has got a clip point, a sheep's foot, and a big saber ground clip. And they called it their Kentucky Whittler. It's a good knife. I'm not sure exactly when it was made, but it was an American-made Schrade. All right. Let's go with Winchester and Queen. All right. Next up is my Winchester Dogleg Whittler. And this has a Warncliffe main and 2 pen blades as secondaries. And this knife was 1996 by Queen for Winchester. Great knife. I carry this knife all the time. It's one that I really enjoy carrying and using. The Warncliffe blade is just unbelievably useful. And while I'm at it, I'm going to pause right here for a second and just talk about traditional blade shapes. I know in the modern knife community, people talk about sheep's foot blades, and when they say a sheep's foot blade, they're talking about something with belly. And well, it just, every time I think, man, that's just not how traditional knives work. So a Warncliffe blade has a straight edge and a long sloping spine comes to a very straight. A sheep's foot blade shares that same straight edge. It just rounds over much quicker. You'll find them on Stockman's, and Stockman's is a knife that has a lot of them. Whittlers, a lot of Whittlers will have them. But the only difference is the tip. One is very stabby, one is more of a gentle slope. Like, let's see. I guess I'm going to jump out of order real quick. So this is my GEC 29 Stockyard Whittler, and this is probably the best Whittler I have. But more importantly, we're just focusing on this blade here. As you can see, that the spine and the edge are parallel, and then it rounds off. It's got a little bit of a tip, but you wouldn't be trying to stab anyone with this. This knife they call a Stockyard Whittler because of the awl. This is a wonderful knife. GC just does such an amazing job with their bone. Just a great knife. All right, back to Queen and Winchester. So this is a Winchester Whittler. It's also kind of a dogleg pattern. It's just fatter. I mean, they call it a spline Whittler from what I've seen in different places, but I'm not positive. These have the split back. This has the split back. The GEC does not. But as you can see, these are basically the same frame. Or maybe you can't see because my big fat hand is in the way. Just one's fat and one's not. Love this knife. Love that clip point blade, and that Stag is wonderful. This is another queen. This is an older queen. I don't know if it was Queen City or just a regular queen, but this has the Q with the crown on it. It's got a coping blade, a pin blade, and a clip blade. And then we're down to case. So this is probably Case's most popular Whittler. This is what you call their Seahorse Whittler. Has a Warncliffe mane. And then a very slender pen blades and coping blade. And I believe they call it a seahorse because when you do this, it looks like a seahorse. All right. So now we're to the knife that started it all. I found this knife at an antique store, and the people didn't